have you led an audit of any organization? Yes or no? I don't want a long answer. Yes or no? Have you led an audit of any organization of which you were in charge?
Senator, in both of the organizations I ran, we were always completely fiscally responsible.
Yes or no, did you lead an audit?
And the way
yes
my
or no,
leadership
did you lead an audit?
stated
yes or no?
completely
what are you afraid of? You can't answer this question. Yes or no, did you lead an audit? Do you not know this answer?
Senator, every
yes or
part
no?
of my
I don't.
Pete Hegseth. Why is he nominee for Secretary of Defense? I don't know. He may have some naked pictures of somebody or something, because this man seems to glide through life like the billionaire class. Nothing ever happens to him. He's never held responsible. He is not allowed to serve as part of the National Guard protecting Joe Biden during the inauguration because he's so radical in what he said. And with his little Nazi tattoo, they thought he might be a danger to the president of the United States who was being inaugurated that day. But that was cool with Fox News. He ended up on their weekend anchor. And apparently there's a lot more he did wrong too, which we know because a lot of it was brought up during the last 2 months and during this hearing. Tammy Duckworth, however, was the star. Others landed punches, but oh my gosh. First of all, she asked him about ASEAN. Do you know any countries that are ASEAN? He's like, yeah, I know all the Asians, man. I know the country of Asia. You know, it reminded me of the part from King of the Hill. You ever see that where their next door neighbor is like, I'm Laotian. And they're like, are you Chinese or are you Japanese? I'm Laotian. Are you Chinese or are you Japanese? I'm Laotian. What ocean? It kind of went like that.
So are you Chinese or Japanese?
I live in California last 20 years, but first come from Laos.
Huh?
Laos. We Laotian.
The ocean? What ocean?
We are Laotian. From Laos, stupid. It's a landlocked country in Southeast Asia. It's between Vietnam and Thailand, okay? Population 4.7 million.
So are you Chinese or Japanese?
Oh.
He just started naming a bunch of countries. He's like, oh yeah, Asia, that country, that continent. It has Japan and South Korea. And she's like, basically shut him down. And he kept to keep one of the things he did, as they do, is he kept trying to interrupt and talk over the senators. Tammy Duckworth was having none of that. And she screamed at him at one point, and it was beautiful. But during this, she's like, no, ASEAN. He doesn't know what that is. That's Association of Southeast Asian countries. There's about 10 or 12 of them in it, including Vietnam, Laos, I believe Burma's in it, Malaysia. Look at this. I'm doing this off the top of my head. China, Japan, and South Korea are not among them. And it's an economic partnership, and it's a partnership around justice. I guess some of those countries don't have much of that. But if one of them catches somebody committing a crime, there may be extradition treaties. It's an economic, cultural partnership, all of that. He had no clue what she was talking about. Again, he was like, Asian? Well, yeah, I know Asia. I mean, I just went to the Chinese restaurant down the block the other day. All right. We don't care if you eat egg rolls, and we don't care if you had yourself some great General Tso's chicken, but we do care that you know what ASEAN is if you're going to be Secretary of Defense, because it kind of matters knowing what partnerships are out there among potential allies and also potential non-allies. All right. He didn't know that. She kept repeating it. She made him look stupid. And he kind of, for once, backed off a little bit and looked like he was a scared little puppy. But he kept trying to argue.
Specific a little bit. And I'm glad that you mentioned it. Can you name the importance of at least one of the nations in the ASEAN, and what type of agreement we have with at least one of those nations? And how many nations are in ASEAN, by the way?
I couldn't tell you the exact amount of nations in that, but I know we have allies in South Korea and Japan and in AUKUS with Australia, and trying to work on submarines with them.
Mr. Hegseth, none of those countries are in ASEAN.
Across.
None of those 3 countries that you've mentioned are in ASEAN. I suggest you do a little homework before you prepare for these types of negotiations. Listen.
The bigger deal came later, though. Oh, it was beautiful. So Tammy Duckworth asked him if he'd ever been part of an organization that had been audited. She's like, you don't need to be an accountant. You just need to tell me if you've ever been a part of an organization that's been audited. I need a yes or no answer. He's like, and he wouldn't do that. He wouldn't listen to any of these senators. Earlier, at some point, Jack Reed kept mentioning different drunk blackout episodes. It was like, I don't remember which they are. And of course, Pete Hegseth kept lying and saying, well, that was just online rumor. I think it was all online smear was his answer to each of them. So we can just make them up. It was like, so were you yelling yippee-ki-yay and hanging out of the Nakatomi Center while you were chugging a big bottle of Jack? online smear. All right. Were you running away from Clubber Lang in the ring and refusing to fight because you were scared your trainer hadn't trained you well enough and that you wouldn't be able to hang in there, that you were just a paper tiger at this point and not the same fighter you used to be while you were downing Jack Daniels from one cup and, of course, reaching over to the other one for a little Jim Beam? Well, that's just an online smear. And that's kind of how it went. And Jack Reed had about like a dozen of these examples of him on TV many times, on Fox News, at veterans organizations, drunk out, that too, blackout drunk. Again, he's like Kavanaugh, hangs out with the same guys, Tippy and Jimmy and Bobby Boo, and they work out and they drink a lot, and then they, say that it didn't happen. That's how you get Supreme Court justices and secretaries of defense that are absolute drunkards. But I digress. Back to Tammy Duckworth, who kicked the living snot out of him. Basically, she tore his skin off. She went at him on, have you ever been part of an organization that's been audited? Yes or no? He's like, well, I've run 2 fiscally responsible organizations. Yes or no? I've run 2, yes or no? And at one point she's like, yes or no? I mean, she literally screamed it at him and got louder. She's like, well, obviously you've never been audited. You don't know how to handle an audit. So you don't know what to do if that happens, blah, blah, blah. And of course she's right, because he had 2 organizations. I'm gonna make sure I get the names right. Veterans for Freedom. That sounds like a very right-wing one, probably, because they like those names. And Concerned Veterans for America. And at both places, numerous staffers accused him of, quote, financial mismanagement, sexual impropriety. And what was the third one? It was a good one. Let's get that one too. Oh, right. Intoxicated behavior. Yippee-ki-yay. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. So he was drunk on the job. He was sexually harassing women on the job. And he was he pocketing money, or somebody else was? We don't know. But financial impropriety. That's what he was accused of in both places. And he was kicked out of both places, as in fired, shite canned, removed, catapulted, destroyed. Come up with your own name. That's this guy's record. We haven't even gone into all of it, right? I think we mentioned the Nazi tattoo. He has no experience, and that's what she was pointing out. She's like, you are not experienced to lead an organization like this. She didn't even go into the mismanagement and all of it. You've never been through this. You don't need to be an accountant. You just need to be able to say you ran an organization big enough that it would be audited and looked into, and that you knew what to do to prepare for that. But he would not do it. He would not give her a yes or no answer, so she just reamed him. And it was beautiful.
Please describe to me, Mr. Hegseth, you talk about DOD passing an audit. Please describe to me a time or an organization when that you led underwent an audit, because you say you're going to hire smarter people than you to run this audit. I'm not asking you to be an accountant. I want you to be able to tell me what kind of guidance will be given to those employees, what will happen whether or not you pass that audit. Have you led an audit of any organization? Yes or no? I don't want a long answer. Yes or no? Have you led an audit of any organization of which you were in charge?
Senator, in both of the organizations I ran, we were always completely fiscally responsible.
Yes or no, did you lead an audit?
And the way
yes
my
or no,
leadership
did you lead an audit?
Stated,
yes or no?
Completely
what are you afraid of? You can't answer this question. Yes or no, did you lead an audit? Do you not know this answer?
Senator, every part of my leadership of these organizations has been misrepresented.
I will take that as a no. What were the findings? So there were no findings because you've never led an audit. What guidance did you give the auditors? None, because you've never led an audit. Nobody expects you to be an accountant, Mr. Hegseth. What we expect is for you to understand the complexity of this Pentagon budget process that is absolutely necessary to outfit our warfighter.
Yes, it was great when Jack Reed went after him. Yes, it was great. I think my friend Tony Michaels, whose show I was on before, was showing the example of Tim Kaine, proving that he lied to Donald Trump, which of course he did. That was really good. There were a number of people who did a really good job, but Tammy Duckworth needs to be in leadership in the Senate, like now. She is one of, again, what women did the other day. She is one of the, as far as I'm concerned, the best communicators, the best questioners, and it's time for the old guard to step aside, like in the House, where we've got young and up and comers who know how to use current technology. It's like something out of a movie. Yes, like weird stuff, like, YouTube and Snapchat. And I'm sorry, the Democrats, who are of the oldest generation, again, they'll never get out of their fear of Reagan's shadow and realize that there's no congeniality anymore, that any norms have been established are ones that Republicans have ignored and are not based on the Constitution and need to be crushed. Tammy Duckworth gets that. She went after him. So did a couple other great folks in there who I think should be in leadership too. I've mentioned before Brian Schatz from Hawaii. Adam Schiff just got up there. He's tough. But, Tammy Duckworth from Majority Leader any day of the week, as far as I'm concerned, and certainly for a very high position. Remember, she lost her legs, I believe it was in Iraq, in a helicopter crash, and came out of that to become a U.S. Senator. She's tougher than nails, and she's certainly tougher than Pete Hegseth. And it was a lot of fun watching her tear his skin off.